What's going on, everyone? DB Deluxe here, and today I had a chance to spend some time with the Meta Quest 3. It is extremely good. I am very happy with it, but if you want to get into all those details, there are plenty of other reviewers that have talked about it. What I want to talk about is some of the things that I do with it, because on top of the augmented reality, I also like streaming my desktop to the Meta Quest. So what I thought about doing, I did it with the Quest 2. It worked out pretty good, especially wired. It's always going to give you a better connection than wireless. But what I decided to do in this video is test out just how well the wireless connection is with some popular desktop broadcasting, desktop streaming apps. I guess that's what you call it, with the Quest 3. We're going to do Bigscreen. We're going to do virtual desktop. We are going to do the beta version of Oculus Streamer, or Oculus Desktop Streamer, remote desktop. That's what it's called. I had to look at the name. We're going to do SteamVR as well as Quest Link. And just going to show you some snippets of the quality. In case you don't know about those apps, there are plenty of other people that have covered each one, I believe. I'm not going to go into any super detail unless y'all want it. And if y'all do, drop me a like and leave a comment so that I know. Otherwise, I am going to move on to the next trending thing. I'm not doing a bunch of videos on this because I'm not getting paid to do this in any way, shape, or form. This is all for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to look at, I'm not doing another take. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Let's get started. So before we go into everything, just to clarify and to give you a description of how I'm going to be running these tests, we are going to be using the Quest 3. We are going to be playing the game of choice, which is Street Fighter 6 with a Xbox controller, Bluetooth enabled, which is paired to the PC, which also makes it paired to the Oculus. So I'll explain just how that actually causes some problems a little later on. We're going to be running everything on its native settings. So on my PC, which is a 5700 XT Ryzen with a 6600 AMD graphics processor, I might remember to put that information somewhere here. That's basically what I am working with. So of course, if you have something more powerful, your results could be better. And if you have something a little older, your results could be worse. But for the most part, I was pretty much happy with some of the stuff. Let's just get into it, but I thought I might add that to the video. So, let's go. So we're going to start things off looking at SteamVR within the virtual desktop app. Now, it definitely gets better from here. This is kind of like Streamception when you think about it, because first off, you're using virtual desktop, then you're using that to stream from the Steam VR app through the theater mode, and it just really looks choppy. Now, graphics quality looks good, but you can definitely see that frame rate is not acceptable, and it just crashed. I totally liked the Wi-Fi connection. I don't know if it was that or crashing, but it completely dropped out and it started back up again. So that's definitely not good. Now, as far as latency goes, everything seemed responsive. All of my commands were going through, even though you did see that I didn't win that round. But it's just not a good experience, and definitely not worth the trouble of having SteamVR and virtual desktop. Now, I kept it going a little longer to see that we did have some audio drops. So that's something that you're going to notice in maybe a couple of the other demos as well, is that sometimes the audio dropped out depending on what you were doing. It really didn't happen on some of the better ones, but it's something that will happen, and it's because of a wireless connection pretty much. Can't really do too much about that. Now, if they did improve on this, I do like the fact that you can do the resizing without having to use the Oculus controllers. As you can see, all you have to do is look downwards, and wherever you're pointing, you can make an adjustment, you can recenter. So that's solely using the controller for that experience. Now let's get into Bigscreen, because this is definitely one of the better ones. And I chose a medium environment. Who ever had the chance to play their video game in Classroom? I think I did it maybe once or twice. But the Bigscreen app is very much optimized to handle desktop streaming. As you can see, it's very smooth graphically. The environment is pretty. The screen size is decent. I like the Bigscreen app because you can change your seating. You can change the angle that you're looking at the video. It's a whole lot of nice quality of life improvements on this app. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. But before we actually leave from this app, I'm actually going to show you just if it can handle a larger size and how that looks. Now keep in mind that what you're actually seeing is still cropped from what you see when you actually have the headset on. So your field of vision is so much larger than this. There's so much more of the classroom that you can see, and it is extremely immersive, which can be fun when you just kind of want to enjoy yourself on something larger than whatever TV set you have at home. Now, as you can see, there are a ton of environments in the Bigscreen app. In fact, I believe they have the most environments among all of the virtual desktop apps that I have tested in this video. And this is the home theater. I love the NES at the bottom. I love the seating, how you can change the seats just with a snap. The overall look, it's just beautiful. Here's another one. Now, this is the largest of the screens that you can get. They had the giant cinema, but something about being on a rooftop with a gigantic screen overlooking a cityscape. Just, it's awesome. I love it. Now, like I said before, the environment is so much more wider than what you see here. You actually get a nice view of the houses, buildings, skyscrapers. You get the patio, and it's nice. It's nice. If you haven't experienced it, it's worth a try. These are all still, like I said, being played with the Xbox Elite controller. You pair it up to your PC just like you normally would. There's no pairing to the Quest that you have to do because it's all being streamed from your PC. So, of course, you do have to make sure that you are in range. Now, me, I was only not even 10 feet away from my PC sitting on the couch. But you want to be aware of that too. Now, this is the virtual desktop app. And we are actually going to see pass-through mode first, because this is one of the exclusive features of the Meta Quest 3, and that's being able to function in both VR and reality, which is called augmented reality. So as you can see, we have our augmented screen right around our real world setting. This is the back end of my office. me sitting on the couch with controller in hand, and just like the big screen mode, it's pretty good. But then that takes us to the SteamVR home, another streamception, as we're going to call it, and this ain't pretty. Now, this is SteamVR home through SteamVR through Questlink. And you can see the three tiers definitely show, because this is basically unplayable. It's a cool environment. SteamVR Home is a very pretty environment, but as far as something this demanding goes, doesn't work. Now, on the Quest 2, I did get this to work flawlessly with a game like a beat 'em up like Streets of Rage 4. But something this graphic intensive, wirelessly connected, it's just not going to happen. Now, you might also notice that there's no audio in these clips, and that's actually weird because there was audio coming through the Oculus. So I'm assuming something happened with the capture where it just didn't want to get the audio from the SteamVR home. So if you were bold enough to try this, there is audio. Now, why don't we continue the trend of no audio clips? Actually, this time it's intentional, because this is the Oculus Remote Desktop. This is a beta app, or the beta version of the app that comes with the Quest 3. It's for pass-through, and it's basically just to mirror your desktop. So there is no audio functionality at the moment. Now, as far as how it looks, as you can see, it's a bit choppy. You've seen better thus far. So this is definitely a work in progress. And this is actually, I put this clip in the middle, but this is actually the first option that I tried. And I definitely tried to do some tweaks with this versus just the bare bones settings with everything else. What I actually did, and as you can see, gives you an opportunity to see how mixed reality looks when I move around and grab things. But I actually adjusted the resolution both in the streaming side of the app as well as the overall resolution in the pause menu for Street Fighter 6. So I actually bumped it down to 720p. It was at 1080. And as you can see, it got slightly better, but it just didn't work. Now we are looking at the Quest Link. And of course, to remind you, this is wireless, whereas you can also plug this up to your PC, and the results are a little better. But I ran into another problem in using it this way. And that's, I'm not sure if you can actually notice, but you will see that there's a cursor on the screen. The cursor stays on the screen because when you put both controllers down, it switches to hand gestures. And if hand gestures are turned off, it will use your controller to operate the Quest menus. Now, as you can see, that resizing, that wasn't me moving around. That was me using the L button on the Xbox controller, which both operates controls in Street Fighter as well as resizes your window in Meta Quest. You cannot change this, to my knowledge. If they were able to put an option so that you can disable the controller operating Quest, this would be a whole lot more usable, especially since in this mode you can put two of your desktops side by side. You can literally have a lot of active windows and it still run pretty smooth. But as long as the Xbox controller and any other controller you use operates both whatever you're playing and Quest at the same time, it's not usable. We're back to virtual desktop, and this is a small environment. Looks almost like a regular desk, and as you can see, that quality is very good. Virtual desktop and big screen have been the clear winners thus far. Now, kind of like the Bigscreen app, you can change your seating. As you can see, this is the same environment, but I moved over from the PC and now I am sitting on the couch playing on the big screen. I like the little Xbox in the bottom. Let's change our seat again. And gives you a view of the rest of the apartment. That's a nice environment. This is actually one of my favorites for the Quest 2. I've used it to watch YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus. It's just a nice environment when you want to get out the house without getting out the house. Here's a test of the larger screen, a little media room, and once again, very smooth, not any issues. I particularly like the virtual desktop because when you put the controllers down, they don't show up anymore on screen. They disappear. Same with the big screen app, so you don't have interference. One thing you can't see on the capture was I was getting a lot of notifications that they could not find the controllers, or it was too dark to use hand gestures because it couldn't see where my hands were. My hands were behind the controller, and that caused some interference here or there. But for the most part, the big screen app even more so than the virtual desktop app. But these two apps, you didn't have that issue. So overall, big screen seemed to have been the clear winner, with virtual desktop coming in very closely second. I feel like big screen, there weren't a lot of hand interference. There weren't a lot of controller interference. Once I put the controllers down, I was just able to use the Xbox controller. I guess I'm saying controller a lot. Once I put the Quest controllers down, I was able to use the Xbox controller with no problems. Not any prompts to tell me to pick the Quest controllers back up. It left me alone. So big plus to big screen for being able to do that. Next up, I guess, would be virtual desktop, because it definitely streamed good. It definitely looked good, but I was getting some what I believe is controller interference. And there's probably a little bit of ways, or there's probably a couple different ways around that. But that's what we had to deal with there. Also, virtual desktop is probably the best way to stream your desktop in the mixed reality environment. So far, anyway. That could change. Quest Link, that's where we had a lot of problems. Basically, when you put your Oculus controllers down, it wants to switch to hand movement, which means that it's automatically going to say, oh, it doesn't detect your hands because your hands are on a controller. And I didn't show this on screen. If you do turn off the hand tracking, it still wants to follow. It still keeps a cursor on the screen, because then it thinks you're using the game controller as a controller. And the buttons will serve whatever purpose they serve in game, as well as whatever purpose they serve using the Quest Link with the Bluetooth controller. And to my knowledge, there's no way to actually change that. If there is, let me know in the comments. But that was what I had to deal with as far as using Quest Link. Now, SteamVR, that was probably the worst of all of the tests. The Steam VR is probably the most resource-intensive way of trying to stream your desktop by wireless methods. You saw the stutter, and when you try to do it in the Steam Home, it's even worse. So definitely not a way to do it with the wireless methods. Now, maybe later on I'll show some examples of how it looks wired, because SteamVR Home is actually how I usually play these games wired and through the theater. But that was my first chance trying to use wireless, and yeah, it really didn't work out. Finally, the remote desktop beta that comes with the Quest 3, or that is a on the board, on the desktop option for the Quest 3. That is not very good. It's okay, but the problem that I ran into that, and of course this is your other mixed reality method if you want to stream your desktop in a mixed reality environment. So other than virtual desktop, this is your only other option. But the problem with this option is that there is no audio pass-through that I saw. Now, as far as resolution, we did have a little bit of problems there, but again, that might just be performance bottlenecks. And it might also be the fact that I really didn't explore the resolution adjustments. Since everything was operating natively as it would off of my PC, if I had adjusted the graphics settings, I probably could have done a little better, but I didn't bother to because we still didn't have any audio. So yeah, you can stream your desktop, but for gaming, it's not really going to be that good unless you plan on using some Bluetooth headphones or headphones that are paired to your actual PC, which in a way will limit how far you can be away from your PC, but that's way too much to do when there are some better options. What's going on? And if you made it this far and you are seeing this message, Future DV saying one more thing about the Quest desktop streaming app, still words are hard. Anyways, also, not only does it not have audio, but you cannot actually operate the desktop using the Oculus controllers. Does not work. You actually have to have the keyboard and mouse that you would be using with your PC. So hopefully they're wireless, or you would need a mighty long extension cord. So there's that. Let's get back to past DV. We're wrapping this thing up. Thank you for watching. So people, I hope this actually was helpful enough for people to comment and like, and you don't gotta subscribe. A comment and a like is more than enough. But if you do, one of these days it'll matter. Who knows? Guys, that's it for me. As you know, I will ramble on forever, but let's leave it at that. I will see you in the next one. You know where to find me. Take care.